Welcome back to the channel, my friends. Warhammer Man Studios. I'm Warhammer Man, and today we're taking a look at this week's pre-orders, and they are live. This video is sponsored by CMO Games. More on that later. Alright, so we got this week's pre-orders, and it is mostly Dark Angels. So right off the bat, we've got the available while stocks last Codex Supplement Dark Angels. And just for a reference point here, it's $35 for the actual Codex Supplement, and then it's $65 for the Special Edition. So it's about twice the price. And in the past, we have seen Games Workshop specify that these are numbered and limited edition, specifically telling us like 300 or whatever the number is, but we don't see anything like that on this week's pre-orders. So it is a limited edition, it is like the special edition and everything, but we don't see any like kind of specifications or anything like that. And while it's super cool and I'm definitely a fan, in the past we've seen that whenever Games Workshop does an army launch box and then releases a special edition Codex or Battletome afterwards, it's substantially less popular. And then also, because this is Dark Angels, I would imagine Games Workshop, thinking Space Marines will sell a lot, has made a ton of these. They're not specifying how many were made. And then on top of that, a lot of people have been underwhelmed or just straight up disappointed by the Dark Angels rules. So I don't think we're going to see the same amount of FOMO that we've seen in the past. So between the price, the army launch box, substantially more supply created, and Games Workshop not even letting us know how much that is, on top of overall lackluster rules, or people being at least disappointed by the rules, I'm just not sure that this is going to be flying off the shelf like a lot of the other limited edition or collector's edition stuff does. So that being said, we have the Codex Supplement itself, $35 for that. So very reasonably priced in my opinion. Glad to see that. I was afraid that they were going to really jack up the prices on the supplement, and this is the first of the Space Marine supplements. So this sort of like sets the precedence going forward for like Blood Angels and Black Templars and all that stuff. So I do like to see that at $35. Unfortunately, I can't say the same thing for the cards. So then moving along here, we have the characters. Belial, Grandmaster of the Deathwing. Very cool, very fun. Pretty good in game terms. And then we also have the brand new Combat Patrol. Again, same thing. Overall, people very disappointed with this Combat Patrol. The main complaints that I'm hearing are that it's 10 intercessors, which I get. If you're already in the hobby, if you've been playing for a while, or you have access to other people and their models, probably don't need 10 intercessors. And then same thing for no Dark Angels like dedicated units or like specific units. They don't have like your Deathwing Knights or your Inner Circle companions. They don't have a unique character, etc. But I think you find if you actually go and look at the Combat Patrols, that the only one that has chapter specific units in it is the actual Black Templars Combat Patrol, and that one sold very poorly. If you look at the old Dark Angels one, the Blood Angels, the Death Watch, all of them are basically just generic units with upgrade frames, and that's exactly what this is too. So Games Workshop has found in the past that they sell substantially more of these things if they just sell a generic kit with a couple of upgrade frames, because more people from outside that specific chapter will buy it. So that's why they did this. And I know that that's not what people want to hear. I know they don't like rational arguments and listening to reason, but that's why they did it. And then also, one of the complaints is that the Gravis Captain can't be attached to another unit. Well, in Combat Patrol, the Gravis Captain is extremely durable. He halves damage. He's very tough. So he doesn't need a bodyguard. On top of that, you can split the intercessors in two. They have objective secured. So that gives you 5 total like game pieces or like squads to move around the table. And 2 of them are objective secured. So very, very good. Now, if I could change this, would I? Yeah, maybe I'd do like a unit of assault intercessors or infiltrators or something instead. There's lots of cool stuff you could do to change it, but I get exactly why they built this Combat Patrol. I think it's very good in game terms. I think my number one complaint with it is the actual value. If you say $60 for the intercessors, $60 for the Blade Guard, and $30 for the Hellblasters, that's $150. It's like $40 for the Gravis Captain, that's $190. And then the upgrade frames are about like $30. So it's about $220 and they're selling it for $160. So you're saving about $60. So it's less than a 25% discount. I think it's somewhere around like 22%. So I think if anything, my main complaint is that there's not a great discount in it. And because there's 10 intercessors in the box, you really don't save a ton on this box set. So while I do think it's fun and good for game terms, it'll do extremely well in actual Combat Patrol. I totally get why people would be a little disappointed with this setup. And I think a couple small changes, like maybe putting in the new upgrade frames instead of the old ones, or maybe mixing up like 5 of the intercessors with 5 assault intercessors or infiltrators, scouts, something like that, would have made this a substantially better box. All right, so moving along, we got the Deathwing Knights at $70. Very cool box set right here. Hate to see them priced even more expensive than the new Terminators. And then next we have Asmodai, Master of Repentance. Very, very cool looking model right here. Definitely a fan. You can see there are some various options with like the hood and then with or without the smoke. Priced at 42 bucks for a single tiny little sprue. I hate to see it, but we know Games Workshop prices legendary characters like that. All right, and then moving along, we've got the Inner Circle Companions. Again, very, very cool models. Not the best rules, but we'll see how that plays out. There's definitely some ways to like kind of buff them where they're falling short a little bit. I do wish they had -2 AP on their weapons or were priced the same as Blade Guard, but we'll see, because now we're going to get, in the next few weeks, hopefully, a new sort of like points update for the Dark Angels. Now that the actual codex is being released, they're going to have to update the points from the codex, which currently has like our units that didn't have points before, like the Inner Circle Companions. So we know for sure that's coming. So I think once we get that, once we see what the Lions priced at, the Inner Circle Companions, the Deathwing Knights, we'll have a much better idea as to what's viable, what's competitive, and how the Dark Angels are really going to be playing. And then moving along here, we got a bunch of the Space Marines from last week. The Kill Team Scout Squad, 65 bucks for 10 of them. You guys know my opinion on that. I wanted to see this priced at 60 bucks, but compared to the old Scouts, which were priced at like 35 for 5, technically I guess this is cheaper. I don't know, it depends how you look at it. I also did a little refresh on the Aspect Warriors, and I did not realize that 5 Howling Banshees is 60 bucks, because obviously 75 bucks for 10 Scorpions is expensive, but if you compare that to 5 Dire Avengers for 45 or 5 Howling Banshees for 60 bucks, it's actually a really good deal. Now, again, that's all relative, because 60 bucks for 5 Howling Banshees is the problem. But if we're going to compare apples to apples, Banshees and Scorpions are basically the same, like model-wise, quality, coolness. So 60 bucks for 5 or 75 for 10, I'll take 75 for 10 all day. And again, I'm not defending Games Workshop right here. I'm just using rational arguments. So here's the chapter, completely overpriced. Definitely just pick up Leviathan. There's still tons of copies floating around. Split it with a Tyranid friend. Still like the best box ever made. Terminator Captain, very cool. Ballistus Dreadnought, overpriced at 70 bucks. For an easy to build kit, I think it should be like 60 at best. Same thing with the Infernus Marines, 60 bucks for an easy to build kit, and there's like a billion of them floating around in the starter boxes. And Leviathan, definitely don't ever pay full price for these. Very cool models though, and very good in game terms. The new Dark Angels upgrade and transfer sheet, 35 bucks for this. I'm a big fan of this transfer setup. The previous setups from Games Workshop were like 15 to 18 bucks for like the upgrade sprues, and they are terrible in comparison to this. This one has the Watcher inside of it, which is pretty cool because a lot of older units don't have a Watcher to go along with them. So it is cool that there's a way to get a Watcher to add into a squad that doesn't already have one. Also, there's a ton of shoulder pad upgrades, awesome helmets and heads, and then a bunch of other like bits and bobs as well. And then also a unique new transfer sheet. So 35 bucks for that, definitely on the pricey side, but I think it's at least the equivalence of 2 of the old upgrade sprues and substantially better. Moving on, we've got the new Dark Angels dice. I'm actually a big fan of these dice, 32 bucks for 16 dice. $2 a pop, so obviously the dice boycott does continue, but I do love the Dark Angel pips. I like the like marbled bone color. Very, very cool. So I think of anything I could complain about and just be salty is the Dark Angels datasheet cards. 35 bucks for them, and there's like 20 total cards in the set. You don't even get like the 5th card that you would normally need to play Combat Patrol without having to bust out your codex, which is just ridiculous since they give you like that same card for Tyranids and Space Marines in the most recent White Dwarf. So they know that people want that card. They know it's a key part of the game. And then some reason they don't include it in the actual datasheet card pack that you would buy. I think my main problem with this is the actual Space Marine datasheet cards are like 35 or 40 bucks. And you get like a couple hundred of them. You get 20 in this set right here and it's 35 bucks. The index cards was like the same amount of cards and it was $15. So why is this 35? Absolute ripoff in my opinion. Definitely do not pay full price for these. Straight up criminal on Games Workshop's part. Now a quick message from today's sponsor. CMO Games has been selling Games Workshop products online for over 20 years. They carry the full line of Games Workshop products including Warhammer 40,000, Age of Sigmar, Necromunda, Blood Bowl, paint tools, and more. Almost all Games Workshop products are priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games takes pre-orders for most Games Workshop products released at their earliest date possible. 12:01 a.m. on Saturday, they go live. Most of these pre-order products are also priced at 15% off MSRP. CMO Games offer free shipping in the US 48 with an order of $50 or more. Their customer service is top-notch and they ship most orders within 24 hours. Visit CMOGames.com using the affiliate link in the description and let them know that you heard about CMO Games from Warhammer Man. Now, back to the video. So with the exception of a couple new books, that's basically it for the new stuff this week. We got the Legion Imperialis Sola Auxilia support from last week. Very cool. We've got the Siegebreaker console. Nice looking model. Too bad it's resin. And then we've got our books coming back here. End Times, Doom of the Old World. 25 bucks for that. Nice little compilation of a bunch of old stories right here for 25 bucks. And then, of course, we got Cypher returning in paperback. So 10 bucks for that. Very cool story. Definitely a big fan of Cypher and like the Track of the Dark Angels, the Fallen, all that cool stuff. And then of course we got the brand new Lazarus Enmity's Edge in hardback, 30 bucks for that. I'm sure that'll sell out relatively quickly as the hardbacks are always very popular. And then we see that Legion Imperial is still kicking hard here. Obviously the Malkador Infernuses, the Spartan Assault Tanks, and the Legion Astartes support all sold out very quickly. Also the Great Slaughter cards and books sold out almost instantly as well. So for anybody that's voting for the downfall of Legion Imperialis, or just wishing, praying, hoping, expecting it to fail, it's still crushing it. So very happy to see that the interest is still there. I do wish Games Workshop would produce a little bit more, because I hate to see stuff coming out and then immediately being like unobtainable, especially when we're not sure if it's going to be reprinted or not. But very, very cool. Very happy for the Legion Imperialis people out there. There was a big lull in production and releases, and we are seeing some restocks. We are seeing some new items come out. And then, of course, the announcements of like Titan Death and some of the other stuff coming as well. So very, very cool. So just a little reminder also, there is still some print on the demand stuff going on here. So if you are after any of this like Cyphus Kane stuff, remember that you got a limited time on these 3 books right here if you're after those print on demands. And if you do want to order these, remember that you have until Monday, the 11th of March at 8 a.m. GMT. So until Monday, the 11th. And then after that, up to 120 days to dispatch. So if you're going to pick them up, just forget about it after that. And then eventually one day they'll show up. So yeah, big week for the Dark Angels players out there. Always like to see a Space Marine release, as they are very popular. I know there's been a lot of people that are down on the Dark Angels rules or some of the prices, the units, etc. I really think once they're out in the wild, once we get the updated points and everything, that we'll really be able to gauge just how good or how bad they are. So far, I've been very impressed with them. They have some awesome rules. The models are absolutely amazing. If you don't like the actual army book and the detachments, enhancements, etc. inside, you can always use the regular Space Marine stuff with all of the awesome Dark Angel data sheets and characters. I am really curious to see what the points are going to be, because there's like some massive discrepancies between like current points and what's printed in the codex. I do expect probably to see somewhere in between. I don't think Deathwing Knights are going to be 295 points, but I'm not sure they're going to be 235 either. I still think Azrael is probably like the best Space Marine character, or at least one of them. And I do think Dark Angels are going to be fun and competitive. But until we do get those updated points, we'll have to reserve our judgments completely. So that being said, going to go ahead and wrap it up there. Let me know what you're most excited about, what you're going to be picking up. Always like to hear back from you guys in the comments. Special thanks to CMO Games for sponsoring the video. Check out the link in the description to save 15% on Games Workshop products. That's it for today. Warhammer Man Studios, I'm Warhammer Man, and I'm definitely snagging up some Dark Angels. Asmodai on the way, and so are some Inner Circle companions. And I'm out of here.